How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. The last few days have been insane. Stuff that I never thought I'd see. I'm watching unfold right before my eyes. This is one of those types of events recently with SVB Bank collapsing in a few days that makes you rethink everything. Rethink where you're keeping your money, rethink how you're investing, rethink what you're going to do when you're wealthier in life. And I think there's a lot of opportunity right now, which is why we're talking about some of the top cryptos to buy over the next few days and over the next few weeks and months. Now, I'm going to be going through some of my favorite cryptos, but we have to go through what's happening right now because there's a lot of fear in the market, a lot of blood in the street, as they say. And I'll be honest, I'm up at 5:30 a.m. I woke up and I just happened to check my phone. I thought there might be something interesting happening, and I was right. I made so many videos yesterday, but I am here at 5:30 a.m. Keep in mind, I usually sleep till 8 or so. And I've never been so excited to make a video, I feel like. So stay through to the end because there's a ton of information in here. There's a ton that we can take away from what's happened over the last few days. And I think we're going to get some generational buying opportunities for crypto here very soon. Now, why do I think that? First of all, take a look at this chart. This is a $181 billion bank, $181 billion in deposits. It fell 66% a day, went back up 100%, then got halted because it's being taken over by the FDIC. This is the second biggest bank collapse in U.S. history happening in the last 48 hours, and it's the biggest bank collapse since 2008. Now, I want to be careful because I know a lot of people are going to be affected by this. A lot of people are going to be affected by something else I talk about here in a second, negatively. However, these are the type of events where if you have money, if you're not directly affected, this can be a great buying in opportunity because there's so much fallout that's going to happen from this, so many implications. I want to be careful about how I say this, but this reminds me a bit of COVID. And I don't know if I can even say that word, but screw it. I think that this reminds me of COVID because there are so many implications. We have to think through what's going to happen next and how the Fed's going to react. And there's just a lot of money and volatility. So keep that in mind. Now, I've also heard that there are payroll processing companies that may have many non-Silicon Valley Bank startup payments who kept their float at SVB. This is coming from someone on Twitter, so I'm not sure how correct that is. But basically, there are a lot of companies that may not even know that they're connected to SVB yet. At this point, I've heard 100,000 to 250,000 employees through all these various companies could be affected, and these are high-paying jobs. So this could definitely affect the markets, could definitely affect companies, and we're already seeing it affect companies. I think this is really important as well. There are few things more important than inflation, but confidence in the U.S. financial banking system is one of them. And I think that's something really important to keep in mind here. The market is basically calling for the Fed to switch. Basically, we're seeing a lot of Treasuries sell off right now, basically saying after this collapse, the market doesn't think that the Fed's going to be able to continue to raise rates. They think that the Fed's going to be forced, maybe this weekend or in the next few weeks, to maybe stop raising so aggressively or taper off completely. They think that someone's going to have to come in and bail out SVB. And right now, the market is just not trusting what's happening. They don't trust that no one's going to step in to help. And there are a lot of companies that you might know of that are being affected by this too. Roku tumbled yesterday because they said that 26% of their cash and cash equivalents were held at Silicon Valley Bank, and they don't know to what extent they'll be able to recover the cash. They're not the only company. Yesterday, actually before this happened, I made a video about it. About 4 hours before USDC started to fall because it did break peg. One of the largest stablecoins in crypto broke peg, and we'll look at it here in a minute. I was making a video saying that I would take my money out because of this. Basically, they have a portion of their money at Silicon Valley Bank. Also Silvergate, also Signature. Silvergate's in a worse spot than Signature, but Signature's also in trouble. Silicon Valley Bank, obviously very much in trouble. And it came out that they have about $3.3 billion of the reserves at Silicon Valley Bank. Keep in mind, this is about a $40 billion cryptocurrency. But still, whenever people are worried that their money's not back to one-to-one, there's a bit of a bank run. Now, keep in mind, this is also when we've seen so much fear in the market over the last few days. I mean, the New York Attorney General's office labeled ETH security, and they're now suing KuCoin. Huobi token saw a 90% crash. Silvergate is facing liquidation. Biden is proposing a new Bitcoin mining tax and capital gains tax increase. And Voyager's liquidating, basically selling their crypto on people. And now, to add on to that list, we have different stablecoins depegging. USDC's at 90 cents. We have DAI, which is one of the largest stablecoins as well, top 4, down at 92 cents. Binance was told that they can't issue any more stablecoins, so they're just shrinking. And now even Tether isn't really selling at a premium either. It's $1. I saw it actually at 0.998 before or something like that. So even that is falling down a little bit. So why would I be interested in buying crypto? I'll tell you that here in a moment. I want to add to what's happening though. First of all, I think that there are a couple things we have to keep in mind. First of all, Circle does have some money at SVB. Keep in mind, though, they have $3.3 billion worth at that bank. The majority of the money is still at Silicon Valley Bank. The fact is, though, it will take a little while to get the money out. The FDIC is taking over, and it sounds like they are only down about $1 to $2 billion, which is surprising that they had to shut down for that. But there's so much happening, and there's more regulatory scrutiny on these banks. So it was taken over by the FDIC. It sounds like most companies will probably get 90 to 95% of their cash back eventually. It just might take a while. Even though it's not FDIC insured, the fact is the bank has most of the money, most likely. So Circle might stand to lose a couple $100 million, but keep in mind they're making hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter. So they can easily take that hit. The problem is just if they have a liquidity crunch. But we're seeing some companies help them out. I saw a variety of companies sending money to Circle to try to cover some of their liquidity problems. Coinbase is temporarily pausing USDC and USD conversions over the weekend while the banks are closed. I don't know if that's because they're trying to help out USDC or if it's that they're having problems on their own end. Some people are longing USDC right now. For example, Martini guy said this should be easy money. They held only 4% of their cash reserves in Silvergate. The worst case scenario, USDC is worth 96 cents. Circle made a $700 million profit. They have tons of cash, lots of cash. And he still thinks that USDC is his favorite stablecoin. So I'm not that aggressive. I'm not saying to go out and buy USDC right now. Again, I'm just trying to provide you some clarity on what's happening. But keep in mind, even if they have most of their money, it's really about liquidity for the short term. Because they've had $1 billion worth of net redemptions since SVB shut down. And that was before the depeg. So I'm guessing they've had billions now. And this isn't really forcing too many liquidations in the market right now. I think, we've seen 186 million over the last 24 hours, which, that's a good amount, but it's not like we had just a few days ago when we had 250 million worth of longs liquidated. There's a lot of people that are taking their USDC and actually selling it for other cryptocurrencies right now, which we'll talk about. But this is kind of what I see happening over the next maybe few weeks, few months. USDC depegs. There's so much else happening in the market, but that causes crypto to fall further. This shakes out more hands. I mean, we've seen a lot of people get off crypto over the last few months to a year anyways. A lot of the people that don't really like the technology, don't see the long term, aren't willing to hold for that long, or they just got shaken out because their money was tied up in exchanges. Then we trade sideways for a few months. People get really bored. We have time-based capitulation. Then we move up. This is just one possible scenario, but I could definitely see this happening, right? Typically, we have a lot of pain before the market turns around. And yes, FTX was really painful, but if you had your crypto on cold storage, you weren't really affected. this affects a lot of people. This affects people that even had their crypto on cold storage, because some people just have stablecoin. They have money in cash, but they have enough cash that they can't just withdraw it and put it in their banking account, because there are some limits on how much you can withdraw and deposit. So if you're someone that has millions of dollars in money on the sidelines and you want to put all that into crypto, a lot of people keep it in stablecoin. So they might be moving in and out to put USDC into Tether, but a lot of people seem to be putting it into other cryptocurrencies, which is why we see the whole market basically up, Bitcoin up 2%, Ethereum up 4%, other cryptocurrencies up 7%, 3%. The whole market would be up a couple percent, but we've seen like USDC fall 10% in a day in terms of market cap because of the DPEG. But I think there's a lot of opportunity here. And I know that sounds kind of crazy because of what's happening that I would even think about buying. But the fact is, we have stablecoins that we thought were totally legitimate, that have one-to-one backing, that are falling 8 cents on the dollar. We're starting to see, prices come down a little bit for these cryptos. I think as people find ways to get their money out, they might withdraw to bank accounts. And I could definitely see us falling a little bit further based on some of this capitulation happening in crypto right now. The people that can sell, some of them are selling. But I think this really makes a case for why Bitcoin was created in the first place. Satoshi Nakamoto created Bitcoin to be able to get around the banks. This was born out of the 2008 financial crisis, out of distrust for the banks. And this was the first peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that would allow payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution, basically providing some kind of hard asset that could not be influenced by governments and banks and be manipulated. I think this is a good case for why Bitcoin, again, should be used in the first place. So let's go over some of the top cryptos, because again, I think there's going to be a big buying in opportunity. And I want to go over some of the, let's say, the top 5 cryptos to buy over the coming weeks and months. Now, keep in mind, like I said, I did post a video before the DPEG happened. So if you, and I talked about selling USDC. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I would do that. Do it right under the video. Turn on the bell notification so you know right when I post a video. Now, sometimes I post more than 3 times in a day, so you don't get push notifications. So you might have to, see my video on the side of the screen when you go on YouTube at some time, and then just click it. Now, I would also watch some of these shorts, because some of them are just fun, like Elon Musk talk about how he is open to buying Silicon Valley Bank, but some of them are really important timing, like selling out of USDC before it depegs 10%. That could have saved you a lot of money. And it might not be applicable to you now, but it might be applicable to you in a couple weeks. So do that first of all. If you want information even faster, I told the Patreon before I even started making this video that I would sell out of USDC. I said that I think a few hours before I made the video. So check out the link to the Patreon underneath the video in case you want to join there. So, okay, let's get back to what we could buy. First of all, I would have some cash. Now, I've been very careful. I think that we should have cash, but not in stablecoin. If it's possible, if you're someone that doesn't need, a couple $100,000 to put in the market just like that, like I invest a lot into cryptocurrency, but I do regular buys, and I'm not trying to get too greedy putting all my cash in at one time. So I can just keep my cash in an FDIC insured bank. And I'll be honest, I don't have $5 million sitting in the bank where it's really hard to split up, because it's only backed to $250,000. For me, it's pretty easy. I have a couple different banks. I spread money out. I get some interest right now. Like I'm getting 3.5% at my different banks. And actually one is M1 Finance. If you haven't already tried that out, there is a link to it underneath the video. I have equities there. I also have cash there, and they pay 3.3%. It's super easy. Of course, do your research, but I'm pretty comfortable with it. But I would keep some money in the bank, because we don't know when the next shoe is going to drop. We don't know when someone's going to be liquidated. Right now, there is crazy talk about people like Michael Saylor having 80% of their Bitcoin at Silicon Valley Bank. Now, I think this is complete FUD, but I'm seeing a lot of bot accounts posting this. So I think it's just someone that wants to shake more people out of crypto over the weekend. I personally don't think Michael Saylor has any crypto at Silicon Valley Bank first of all. Maybe some cash. I could be wrong on that. I didn't look to see where they're keeping their cash, but the fact is he's talked about this being a digital bank in cyberspace, self-custody. They have 132,000 Bitcoin, and it's thought that they have it on 2 different cold wallets. So I don't think that they have any crypto, but if there are any other people that have money tied up there and they need to meet payroll and they have money in crypto, they might sell some crypto. And we don't know if we're going to get deeper into this bear market. So first and foremost, I would have some cash on the sidelines. I know that's not technically a crypto, but it might be the most valuable thing in your crypto portfolio right now. The second thing I would be buying, or I would look at buying, is Bitcoin. The fact is, we can have different events that cause crypto to fall down, but make the case for crypto. For example, when the Fed started raising rates, that caused Bitcoin to be hurt, right? It hurt all risk assets. But it really showed how bad the U.S. government treated us and really how bad they inflated the supply, that they had to start raising rates so aggressively, and made, I think, a better case for Bitcoin over the long term. Just like what's happening right now. Silicon Valley Bank shows that you really can't have a lot of trust in the banks. You still have to be careful and monitor what you have in the banks. So I think Bitcoin on a cold storage wallet, which there are links to cold storage wallets. If you don't already have your crypto on cold storage, I would highly suggest it. I think that's the safest way to keep your Bitcoin. And I think this is one of the only assets in the world that you can truly hold the keys over. You can truly hold without having the ability to have it taken away from you. Keep in mind that we still have a lot of crazy events happening, so we could fall further. We seem to be holding around this $20,000 mark. Now we fell below it to 18,000 or 19,600, but we have held it a little bit as support. Some money is flowing from USDC and from DAI into Bitcoin, because some people just, again, they're illiquid. They have hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, and they're looking for somewhere to put it because they can't get it out quickly enough. So they're moving it into Bitcoin, into other altcoins. That could continue to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see some more red days in the stock market, if we see some more red days in crypto. And we moved up so quickly from 17,000, 16,500 up to 20,000. If we break the support, I think we could easily fall down to maybe 18,300, where we had seen previous resistance. So be on the lookout for that. I will be adding under 20,000. I've been adding a little bit over the last few days. We're starting to see Bitcoin dominance go up a little bit too. I think this is mostly due to stablecoins, because this includes stablecoins. A lot of altcoins are up over the last day as well, because they don't need that much money flowing into them. So those would be the first two, Bitcoin, and I'd keep some cash. I know that's kind of a cop-out, but I think it's very key to keep some cash. We do have some fear for Bitcoin as well with Mt. Gox, but this was just pushed back, and I've been talking about this. I think this is overblown. So many people get worried about Mt. Gox, but most of the time, nothing comes of it because it keeps on getting pushed back. For example, Mt. Gox registration deadline was pushed from March 10 back to April 6. And keep in mind that the people actually getting paid are getting paid later this year. So it got pushed back from September 30th to October 31st. So I would keep an eye on Bitcoin, keep an eye for some of the FUD out there, and maybe be ready to buy. The majority of my portfolio that's in crypto is in Bitcoin. Now, I do have a lot in equities, and I would love to pick up some equities, and I think this could continue to get scary in the equities market, and I would love to pick up some more equities, so just keep that in mind. I am diversified. I'm not just putting everything into crypto, but I think, again, there are going to be some interesting prices. The next crypto I'd buy is Ethereum. Since the merge, 176 days ago, so almost half a year ago right now, it's actually lost 60,000 Ethereum in net issuance. So it's actually becoming more scarce over time. And the Ethereum devs have pushed back the Shanghai upgrade, basically where they're going to be able to start unlocking the 2.0 contract. Now there's more to it than that, but that's what a lot of people are fearful with Ethereum, that all these people are going to start unstaking Ethereum. But a lot of people that put their money, or their Ethereum, I should say, in the contract are actually negative since they put it in there. And I think it might be overblown a little bit. I think there will be money that probably comes into Ethereum, especially if the market is looking okay. I think there's going to be money that eventually comes into Ethereum because now they can actually set their Ethereum to be set to stake for a certain period of time, and they can get it out after that time, right? It's not indefinite. And I think there are a lot of people that would stake their Ethereum, but are just cautious because they have no idea when they'll be able to get it out. And that's the kind of the boat that I'm in right now. So I think Ethereum will be fine over the long term, but I think there could be some FUD around the Shanghai upgrade, especially if the overall market is looking pretty rough. And with these depegs happening, I wouldn't be surprised if Ethereum does fall down. It's held up really well versus Bitcoin as well. Like the ETH Bitcoin ratio is still around 0.07. I would be looking for this to fall down a little bit. I've really wanted to buy Ethereum for the last couple months. I want to buy during this bear market at some point, but I haven't pulled the trigger yet. I still kept the majority of my Ethereum from last cycle just in case, and that hasn't been a terrible idea so far. This is my second largest holding behind Bitcoin, but I'd love to be able to pick up some more, and I think we'll get the opportunity to do just that. The next thing on this list I would buy is a little bit further down. I'm a little bit cautious of BNB, especially with some of the regulation happening in the US. And just Binance FUD in general. I wouldn't touch XRP because of the lawsuit. And I'm not going to talk about every crypto on this list, but I would be looking at Polygon. Now, Polygon has so many different partnerships. There's been some FUD on Polygon recently about how they're buying out people to launch on their platform. But right now, they do have some of the largest partnerships out there: DraftKings, Adobe, the NFL, Starbucks, Adidas, Prada, Walt Disney, MetaStripe. They're not paying all these companies, in my mind. They're not paying them to join them. They just have a superior product and superior liquidity, superior development to a lot of other projects out there. Now, Polygon is also setting a late March date for their ZK EVM mainnet beta. And this is basically going to allow them to scale up and keep their transactions cheap. This is a big catalyst for Polygon and Matic. And I think this could be a driver of them for the next bull run. I think there's a lot of adoption happening on Polygon. Now, keep in mind, I actually sold some of my Matic at $1.31 just because it had moved up so quickly. I took some profits on it. Now it's down to $1.06. It still held up extremely well in this bear market, but I did take profits when it went up a lot. I would love to put this back in. Now, I didn't take that much. Honestly, I should have taken more. Looking back at it, and I thought about it, but I just was a little bit too cautious. I sold about 3% of my bag, but I'm looking to buy that back and possibly more depending on how much we fall. It has held up really well though, so I'm not sure I'm going to get a great buying in opportunity. But let's move on to the next crypto on the list. I would really like to buy some more Phantom. Recently, Phantom had their main developer come back. They went through how profitable they actually are, basically saying that they are cash flow positive right now. They earned $6 million from various DeFi strategies. They currently have $10 million a year from what they earn, and this is cash flow positive. They have a lot of money in reserves as well, not just FTM, but they have stable coins, which you have to be careful of that, but they have $100 million worth in stable coins, $100 million in crypto assets, $50 million in non-crypto assets, hopefully not at Silvergate Bank. That's a little bit nerve-wracking. Salary burn rate is $7 million a year, so they have 30 years left without having to touch their Phantom. This is if they don't make any money. Now, I would be a little bit cautious if it comes out that they had money at Silicon Valley Bank, or if they have a lot of money in USDC and USDC continues to depeg. I'd be a little bit cautious of this. If I hear that, I might sell off Phantom really quickly, but otherwise, I plan on buying more Phantom. And even if they have a lot of their money, or if they have some of their stablecoin in USDC, or if they have some of their money at SVB, I would still be likely to buy them over the long term, but I think they would fall a lot if that comes out. So just be careful of that. Keep an eye on the market, and I'll make a video if that happens. But they also have a big event happening later this year, Phantom Virtual Machine. I think this will cause them to go up as well. Just like a lot of other upgrades, scaling, keeping costs cheap, that kind of thing, and keeping transactions fast. Now, I sold some of my Phantom at 57 cents. This is a small portion of my portfolio, a little bit more than Matic in terms of percentage of what I had in the token. I sold about 5%. Again, one of those times where I should have sold more and I didn't. But now you can see they've fallen about 40%, maybe a little bit more than 40%, down to 34 cents since I sold. So I'd love to put that money back and maybe some more. Now, again, you have to approach this at your own risk. I don't know what's going to happen in crypto, but I think there are going to be some really good buying in opportunities over the next few months. And while I would be cautious, I think we could get some prices that make us very, very wealthy. Now, I'm sticking mostly to the top 5, 10. There is one crypto that I have some exposure to that is pretty small, but is doing really well. And they actually, well, I don't want to get too into it. Be on the lookout, though. I've actually talked about it in the past, just in part of one video. But there are some smaller cryptos that you could make a lot of money from. I mean, Alex Becker talks about how some of the biggest cryptos are going to be the gaming cryptos. And the crypto that I have isn't necessarily in gaming, but there are going to be a lot of cryptos that are outside the top 100 that have insane gains over the next few years. And if you want to play in them, you can. I don't talk about them really too much on the channel just because there is a lot of risk in them. And, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes with all of them. It's harder to understand because there aren't so many people following them. They're much riskier. Some of them might have their cash tied up in places that you don't want it tied up in. So there's a lot of risk that happens, but you could make a lot of money from those as well. So if you want to take a small portion of your portfolio, like I would have less than, personally, if I was doing this more aggressively, even than I'm doing now, I'd have maybe 1% to 2% of my portfolio in those smaller companies and smaller projects. I could see if we really start coming down further, putting more money in. But some of them I still think are just a little bit too heavy, for my opinion, a little bit too propped up. But if we see a collapse where Bitcoin falls back down to new lows or even just to the prior low, keep in mind there are going to be deals all over the place. I would expect Ethereum to be around $1,000. I would expect Polygon to be at 60, 70 cents. And then other cryptos are going to be down 50% plus from where we are now. And a lot of them are down 95% plus already. So have some cash ready. I know that sounds difficult. Some people, every time that I talk about that, say, how do you still have cash? And the fact is, I've been careful, right? I've been putting money into the market, but I am constantly bringing in more money, and I'm cautious about how much I put in. I am diversified, so I can pull from other places, but I've kept cash. Part of it is I want to buy a house too, and I could sell this house to buy the next house or put a down payment on. I'm a little bit risk averse though, so I do like to make sure that I have cash sitting extra or to make sure that I have a large down payment. But I do have some cash sitting around for that. So I have money just in case. But if we take a big dip in crypto or the stock market, you better believe I'm taking some of that money and I'm just going to put less down on the house. To be honest, I'm going to invest for the long term. And if we get crazy prices, I'm going to take advantage. And I hope you do too. Of course, that's not financial advice. But again, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know right when I post a video, because some of this is really time sensitive. Like I made 5 or 6 videos yesterday because I'm trying to make sure that I cover everything that's happening so that way you don't get caught in the crosswinds or the crossfire and lose money out in some of these stable coins or any of these cryptocurrencies. So let me know your thoughts underneath the video. Thank you so much for watching. Hit the subscribe button, hit the Patreon link if you want to join and see what I'm buying and selling. Check out the cold storage underneath the video. If you want to trade on leverage, there is a link to Margex underneath the video as well. These are crazy times and you can make a lot of money from longing and shorting. Just be careful. Again, a small portion of your portfolio. Thank you so damn much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.